Hi guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here because today we're going to talk about stories in quilting. And later in the video, I'm going to show you how to make one of these historic blocks. And this is using English paper piecing. Now, speaking of stories in quilting, I wanted to show you guys this new magazine that I discovered called Quiltfolk. I'll show you some of the insides of it. It is a beautiful magazine, okay? Beautiful. It's quarterly, it's advertising free, which is pretty cool. They feature stories of quilters and quilt shops all over the United States. One of my favorite stories was about Marge Wall in the magazine. Isn't she so adorable? She's so cute. And it's all about her little shop. This is not really your magazine if you love like it loaded with tutorials and patterns and tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. This is really more like sitting down in a cozy chair with a cup of tea and reading it through almost like a book. It's so inspiring. I think you guys will really love it. Issue 2 is coming out right now. So go to quiltfolk.com if you want to check it out, or you could click the link in my description box. I was super inspired by the cover. This is a traditional block. It's all hand done. It's paper pieced, English paper piece. And this is Grandma's flower garden, grandmother's flower garden. I've heard it both ways. And this was a block that was especially popular during the Great Depression. The cool thing about these is we see that a lot of them are made with pastels and bright colors, which is so funny because, well, it's not really funny, but it's interesting because, you know, it was a Great Depression. So a lot of the time these women were having a tough time, and our history, of course, was having a tough time, but these quilts, you wouldn't necessarily know it. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to make these individual hexagons and then how to sew them together to make a flower like this. And then I'm gonna do a part 2 where we will do a mug rug. So it'll be a quick little project, a little taste of English paper piecing. So let's get started. This is what you need. The first thing are these little papers. I buy mine. You can certainly make them, print them out from cardstock, however you would like to do it. But if you're just getting started, I recommend buying them because it just takes a step out of it and you can see if you really like the process. This is a 1.5 inch, and the 1.5 inch is determined by how long this side is. The other thing you need is, of course, some fabric. You need a glue pen. This one's made by Sewline. I like this one a lot. And this one's by June Taylor. I like the Sewline one a little bit better because it's a little smaller, but this one's great too. Also use a regular glue stick. I'm not gonna lie, you can use a Elmer's glue stick as long as it's water soluble, because what's gonna happen is we're gonna glue the papers in here, and then we will pull them out, and then the water soluble glue will wash out. The other thing you absolutely need is hand sewing needles. I recommend hand applique needles, size 10 is good. And then you need your hand sewing thread. So you want hand sewing thread, which has the waxy coating on it so that it doesn't knot as easily and it doesn't shred as easily when you're doing a lot of hand sewing. You can also use a polyester thread, which is a great option too. So let's talk about cutting, because I'll show you why having a small rotary blade like this will be helpful, but it's not essential. So I'll kind of show you the difference here. You can use a ruler that has a defined 1/4 inch line, and this is how I do it. Done. Okay? There's no reason to get too picky about it. You just need to make sure that there is at least 1/4 inch all the way around. That's the most important thing. If you only have scissors on hand, you can do the same thing, just use scissors and cut it, or you can use a ruler, no big deal. This is the right side, so we're gonna flip it over so that the wrong side is showing. Place our template on here. This is where our glue is gonna come into place. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna run the glue right along the edge, just like that. Flip it over and press it down with your finger. That's all there is to it. The next one. And this is why having it cut exact is not really necessary, because the template is making it exact. When you are gluing it down, no matter whether you're using a glue stick, a pen like this, whatever method you choose, you don't need a lot. And you want to run it just on the edge. This makes this method so fast. And you can put it on the fabric too. It washes out, so it's no big deal. You just press it down with your finger. Seriously guys, that's it, you're done. So this is what you are gonna need to do for our little mug rug project. One centerpiece, this is a great for a scrap. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the outer ring. So let's talk about hand stitching them together. So here's how the hand stitching is gonna work. This was something that confused me when I first learned how to do this. We're gonna hand stitch this right sides together, right to left. Because I'm right-handed, that makes more sense for me. If you're left-handed, you can go the other direction, it doesn't matter. So we're gonna sew along this intersection, and then we'll be here. So then we can either go up this way or over this way. Doesn't matter. And that's all with one thread. So we don't have to break our thread in order to do that. I'm going to be using a red thread so you can hopefully see it as best as possible. We need to make a knot at the end of our strand, and the strand is from about my hand to my elbow. That's about how long it is. I wrap it around my index finger, and then I kind of roll the fabric together and pull, and that creates a knot for me at the end. Now thread your needle. Okay, now we've threaded our needle. I'm using a Milliners needle size 10, hand applique, whatever hand stitching needle that you like is great. We just want it to be fine. I want to show you here really quick. I used the red thread on here so that you guys could see. Look how tiny those stitches are. And can you imagine what that would look like if it was white or like an ivory off-white? You wouldn't be able to see any of that at all. Here's how the back looks. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do this whip stitch. Here's our centerpiece, and then our next piece. Right sides together. And I like to hold it upright like this. If your hands get tired at all from holding it, you can use a clover clip to help you as well. We've got our knot already. I'm going to insert my needle up through the bottom here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get the teeniest amount of fabric, a little bite, about 2 threads worth here. And over here. Let me get nice and close so you can see that. Try not to get the paper. You'll be able to feel underneath if you get the paper. So try not to. Leave a little loop. Leave a little loop. We're going to create just a little knot here. And then I'm going to go back over the same spot one more time to secure it. All right, now we can scooch down a little ways. You need the tiniest bit. You need at least 2 threads. If you only have 1 thread of the fabric, it won't be secure enough. So make sure you've got at least a couple of threads on your needle. Okay, so keep doing that all the way to the end, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, here's how mine is looking. Now we want to get another stitch right in that corner. And I'm going to do it the way that I did before, where I go through and do it twice. Even though I'm going to continue with this thread, I want to still finish out this intersection. the needle through the loop again. I'm going to go through that same spot one more time. So now that that's done, let's take a look. Now, of course, you would be using a coordinating thread, but that's how tiny those little stitches are. So we want to add in our other piece. So I'm going to just take this and continue it this way. So we'll place this right side together. Okay, the same thing that we just did, except we're going to go from right to left. We're going to continue that. We're going to do the exact same thing, 2 in the corners. And then at the end of this, we'll knot it exactly the same way and tie it off at the end. Okay, so go ahead and do that. And then I will show you how to attach this side because it's a little bit trickier. Okay, so I finished that side. I made my 2 little passes there so I can trim my thread. So now we need to attach this side. And this tricks people up because you're like, how do you put it right side together? The biggest thing to note is that you can bend your paper. It's no big deal. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll do the exact same thing. Start in this corner because it's right to left. I'm right-handed, so if you're left to right, then you can do that too. But we'll start the stitch and just hold it in place, and it's okay to bend this guy. And then secure that, and then you'll have 2 of these attached. So you can see how I was inspired by this quilt here. So go ahead and finish stitching all of your petals per se around here. And then in the next video, we are going to take the papers out and applique this onto a piece of cotton for our little mug rug, so I'll explain all of that. Thanks to Quiltfolk for sponsoring this series of videos. Definitely go check out their magazine and visit them online, quiltfolk.com. I will see you in the next video. Happy stitching!